Hello, Bacho. How are you doing? This is Amritesh, and today I am here with the topic microorganisms, friend and foe. Okay, so it's clear from the topic that today we will be discussing about some minute, very tiny organisms who can prove themselves friends or enemies to us. Okay, so this is a chapter from class 8 science, and this will be your chapter number second. Okay, and I will be giving you the complete description of this chapter here. Okay, so let's start with the microorganisms. What do we call a microorganism? Micro means very, very small. Okay, those organisms which cannot be seen with the naked eyes are called microorganisms. Okay, and they can be friend to us or they can be enemies to us. Okay, friend means they can be helpful, or foes means enemies means they can be harmful, they can cause diseases to us, not only to the human beings but also to the animals as well as the plants. Okay, so let's see what are the different kinds of microorganisms that live with us in our nearby surroundings. Okay, so as I discussed earlier that the microorganisms are the very tiny organisms which can only be seen with the help of either by a microscope or by a magnifying glass. Okay, like some of the funguses which are a little bit like bigger in shape, like bread molds, they can be seen with a magnifying glass. Okay, but you will be needing a microscope to see organisms like bacteria and protozoas. Okay, protozoas like amoeba, paramecium, euglena, etc. Okay, so these are the organisms that survive under different climatic environments. Like they have very vast variety of survival strategies, which includes very hot temperature, from very hot temperature to very cold temperatures. They can survive under these kind of conditions. Okay, so like microorganisms were first observed by Anton van Leeuwenhoek. Okay, this is the name of a scientist who first observed the microorganisms under a microscope. Okay, so now we can mainly classify the microorganisms under four major categories. Okay, that can be bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and algae. Okay, and we will be also adding one more category to it, that will be virus. Okay, so these are the five different categories that we have right now mentioned. Okay, and we will be taking the description of each category one by one later in the chapter. So let's start with the bacteria. Okay, so what is a bacteria? Okay, like bacteria, as we are discussing microorganisms. Okay, so they are also single celled organisms and cannot be seen by naked eyes. They can only be seen with a microscope. Okay, so let's come to bacteria. Now bacteria, we can keep it under the plant kingdom because they have a rigid definite cell wall. Okay, like in animal cells we do not have a cell wall, we have a plasma membrane, but in bacteria there is a cell wall. So scientists have categorized bacteria under the plant kingdom. Okay, and they can be seen with a microscope that has a magnifying power of 100 to 1000 times. Like they can magnify the things from 100 times to 1000 times bigger. Okay, so like we can see here a description of a diagram of bacteria. Okay, see, this is a pictorial representation of bacteria. Okay, like it has a flagella, then as all the cells have, they have cytoplasm, ribosomes. uh, Instead of the mitochondria they have mesosomes, and here we are discussing about the cell wall. Okay, see, you can see the cell wall here. Okay, and there is a capsule and some DNA materials. Okay, and also a plasma membrane. Okay, so here is a cell wall that is categorizing it under the plant kingdom. Okay, so now we see what are the different types of bacteria. According to the shape of the bacteria, we have classified into four major categories. Okay, so we can see there are certain types of bacteria which have been classified on the basis of their shape. So the first one is they are the Vibrose bacteria. You can see the first name in the brackets, Vibro. Okay, Vibro stands for comma. They are comma shape. You know what a comma is? Okay, these bacteria are of comma shape. Example is Vibro cholerae, which is a pathogen, again a pathogenic bacteria causing disease like cholera. Okay, first one is Vibro. Then the second one is the Kochi bacteria. Kochi means the spherical shaped bacteria. Okay, like Staphylococcus, Streptococcus, these are the bacteria which are round in shape, spherical in shape. Okay, again the next one is rod shaped bacteria. Okay, they are called bacilli. Okay, like E. coli. E. coli is the bacteria that is found in our stomach, like found in our intestine. Okay, and again the Salmonella. Salmonella typhi is another bacteria which causes the food poisoning. Okay, and the fourth one is the spiral shaped bacteria. Spiral shape, you must have seen what a spiral is. Like you have the springs. Okay, so spring is a spiral shape. Okay, and these bacteria are of spiral shape. That is Treponema and Borrelia. Okay, these are the examples of bacteria who are spiral in shape. Now let's proceed to the fungi. Fungi are the non-green plants. Okay, like as I told you that this is a non-green plant, that means they do not have the green pigments called chlorophyll, and due to the absence of the chlorophyll they cannot synthesize their own food. That means they have to be dependent upon other sources for their survival, for their nutrition. So what do most fungi do? They obtain their food from dead organic matter. Okay, they are obtaining their food from the dead organic matter, and they are also parasitic in nature. Okay, like when they are obtaining from dead and decaying organic matter, they are saprophytic in nature. Okay, saprophytes means who obtain their nutrition from dead and decaying matter, while the other fungi are parasitic in nature. That means either they live on or inside some other organisms, some host organisms, and derive their nutrition from there. Okay, now most of the fungi are multicellular. That means they are made up of more than one cell. Okay, but there are some examples who are also unicellular, like yeast. Okay, yeast is a very beneficial fungi. Okay, that is used in the commercial, like in the commercials, like in the dairy industry or in the bakery industry. They are used for manufacturing different types of products. Okay, they are also used in alcohol industry for making the alcohols. Okay, we will discuss this further in the chapter. Okay, so like fungi like mushroom, molds, mildews, and ears are eukaryotic. Eukaryotic means they have a distinct nucleus. Okay, they are having a proper nucleus. Okay, so the main components of fungi are hyphae and spores. Okay, what is hyphae? Hyphae is a thread-like filament, like this is a thread-like tube. Okay, that the fungi penetrate into their food substances. Okay, and they release their enzymes into that substances, which break down the nutrients into small molecules, and after that the fungus absorbs them. Okay, this is hyphae. Okay, and what is spore? This is a unit of reproduction. Okay, like spores are like they are the mediums which helps in the dispersal of the next generation of the fungus. Okay, and they are not germinated until unless they find a very favorable condition. Okay, so here I will show you what a hyphae is. Okay, a hyphae is composed of two parts. One is estolon. Okay, so what you can see, stolons. Stolons are the horizontal hyphae that connect group of hyphae to each other. Okay, it is a channel that interconnects the different hyphae with each other. And the second one is rhizoids. Rhizoids are the root like structure. Here also you can see the bread mold, you can see the rhizoids. Rhizoids are the root like structure of the hyphae that anchors the fungus. Anchors means it holds the fungus to that surface. Okay, so algae. What an algae is, we all have seen the algae. Okay, can you remember a place or a site where you have seen an algae? Let me help you out. Okay, see, have you seen any pond or lake or any water body near to your house that is covered with a green algae? Okay, blue green algae. Okay, this is a diverse group of aquatic organisms that has the capacity of the photosynthesis. That means they have the chlorophylls. You can see this is green in color, so definitely they are containing chlorophyll. Okay, and they can synthesize their own food. And the most important part, you will find these algae only in those places where there is water or the condition is very moist. Okay, so with algae, there also come one another topic, that is eutrophication. Okay, what is eutrophication? Eutrophication is the, like in the earlier chapter in the crop production and management, we had studied about the manures. Okay, like the organic materials which are used in the fields. Okay, they means they get into the water bodies, okay, and get accumulated, okay, and due to the deposition of higher amount of organic materials in the water bodies, what happens? Algae grow. There is an algal boom, okay, and these algae cover the whole water surface, and it reduces the amount of dissolved oxygen in the water body, that results in the death of the aquatic life in that particular water body. You can see another example of eutrophication where the death of aquatic animals are taking place. See, a fish has died due to the eutrophication, and the level of oxygen has reduced, which has resulted into the death of this fish. Okay, so protozoa. We must have heard the name of amoeba. Okay, you can see on the screen there is a name written amoeba. Okay, so protozoa are the unicellular animals which can only be seen with the microscope. Okay, they are free living. Okay, most of the time they are free living, like amoebas are free living parasites. Okay, they depend upon other organisms for their food and shelter. Okay, and these are also pathogenic. Pathogenic means they are disease causing, they cause disease to the plants, animals, or the human beings. Okay, so like you must have heard about the malaria. Okay, malaria is caused by a protozoa, that is plasmodium. Okay, you must have heard about the plasmodium, so that is also a protozoa. Other examples of protozoas are paramecium, amoeba, plasmodium, etc. You can see the diagram of these organisms here. Like I'm showing you the paramecium. Okay, this is paramecium. Okay, this is like shoe sole shape. Okay, so you can see the shape of this paramecium as the sole of your shoe. Okay, now you can see the amoeba, it is having an irregular shape and oval shape of plasmodium. Okay, this is the causing uh, agent for malaria. Now we see virus. So we have discussed the major categories of microorganisms, and now this is virus, which is also one of the most important and today's a burning topic. Virus. Okay, today's world is infected by corona. And what is corona? COVID-19. It is a kind of virus. Okay, viruses are the substances which are on the boundary line of living and non-living. They are, if they are in free nature, they are neither in living condition nor in non-living condition. They have the nucleic acid, means they have the DNA materials, RNA materials. Okay, but they cannot replicate it of their own. Okay, they do not have the replication power, they do not have the replication mechanism. So the viruses use the uh, cells of the host organisms to replicate their organic materials, and that helps in their multiplication. Okay, so the virus consists of nucleic acids, okay, which are surrounded by a membrane called capsid. Okay, capsid is made up of protein. Capsid is made up of protein. Okay, so virus can only be seen with the electron microscope because they are ultra microscopic in size. They are very minute in structure, even thousand times smaller than bacteria. Okay, so outside the living body, they do not show any reaction. They are not living outside our body. Okay, and you can you can be surprised to know that these viruses can be crystallized and they can be stored like non-living things, like we store salt in our kitchen. Okay, so you can also store viruses like that. Okay, so you can see here the common types of viruses. You know that HIV virus, hepatitis B virus, then Ebola virus, adenovirus, influenza virus, bacteriophage, these kind of viruses. And one more important virus you will like to see, this is, you must know what is this. This is coronavirus. Okay, today's world is infected by corona. It has become an epidemic worldwide. This is a pandemic disease which has covered the whole world and has resulted into many infections as well as many deaths it has caused. Okay, so this is COVID-19 coronavirus, and this virus is very dangerous. Okay, so how viruses are different from other microbes. Viruses do not have their own replication power. They are not alive outside the host cell. Okay, so they can reproduce only inside the cell of the host organisms, which may be either a bacteria, a plant cell, or an animal cell. Okay, and they cannot survive without a living host cell. This makes them different from other microbes. Other microbes are living, other microbes are alive outside the host organisms also, but viruses cannot survive outside the host organisms. Okay, so that is why the government of our country is telling us for the social distancing, because social distancing will keep the infection inside a infected organism, and this will not be like transferred from one person to the healthy person. Okay, so where do microorganisms live? Okay, here is a topic: where do microorganisms live? So do you think that the room in which we are sitting is free from microbes? No, this is not free from microbes. Microbes can be present everywhere. In the beginning of the chapter, we had discussed that they can survive a huge difference of temperature. Like they can survive in a very hot climate to a very cold climate. Like they can live in Thar desert, also they can live in tundra region. Okay, so the first point is microorganisms can be single cell like bacteria, algae, protozoa, and some fungus also, and they live in all kinds of environment from very hot to very cold. Okay, now they are also found inside the bodies of other organisms, including humans. Okay, like in our body we have E. coli bacteria, which is an example of bacteria living inside our body, and other pathogenic bacteria that causes the diseases, they are also found inside the body. Okay, now the growth of some microorganisms depend upon other organisms, which the organism while other organisms exist freely. Like some of the microorganisms, they live inside the host cell and only there they can reproduce and they can like survive. Okay, but few are the organisms which live freely, like amoeba. Okay, like amoeba can, as I told you that the organisms like amoeba can live alone, while the fungus, the bacteria can live in the colonies. Colonies means a group of thousands of bacteria and funguses that are together is called colony. Okay. Now, microorganisms and us means the relationship of microorganisms with we human beings. Okay, we are using microorganisms for different purposes. Okay, like there are many microorganisms who are friendly to us. Okay, like here we will be discussing that how microorganisms can be beneficial to us, how they can be friendly to us. Like in our daily life, we are seeing our mother in our homes, they are making curds, bread, cakes. Okay, so how do they do that? How curd is formed? Okay, how the curd is formed? Okay, curd is formed by a bacteria, that is lactobacillus. Okay, here is a pictorial representation of the lactobacillus. Okay, where that is helpful in the conversion of milk into curd. Okay, and some microorganisms are used to produce alcohol, yeast, as we discussed earlier about the yeast, that this is also important in the commercial level. They are also useful in the alcohol industry, in the baking industry. Breads are like when the yeast respire, they exhale carbon dioxide. Okay, and carbon dioxide make the dough. The in the bakery industry, the dough is made of the all-purpose flour. Okay, and that makes it fluffy. Okay, the carbon dioxide, when it is released by the yeast, they raises the dough and it becomes very light and fluffy. Okay, microorganisms are also a very good decomposer. Okay, they are helpful in decomposing the waste of the organic waste of the plants and the animals remains. Okay, so they clean the environment like vegetable peels, remaining of the animal feces, etc. Like if an organism had died, if an animal has died, okay, it will also decompose the body of that organism, and they will be breaking it into harmless small organic matter. Okay, that will be non communicable for the diseases. Okay, so in agricultural field also microorganisms are very important because they increase the fertility of the soil. When we will be discussing the nitrogen cycle later in this chapter, we will be also discussing about some of the bacteria. Okay, some of the nitrifying bacteria, some of the denitrifying bacteria who are helpful in fixing the nitrogen in the soil, also maintaining the level of the nitrogen in the atmosphere. Okay, so one more topic is here, like fermentation. Okay, what is fermentation? Here, fermentation, we talked about the yeast that produces alcohol. Okay, in the alcohol industry, this is by the use of a process called fermentation, where the yeast convert the sugar into alcohol, and this was discovered in the year 1857 by Louis Pasteur. Okay, so here we will see the use of the microorganisms one by one, how they are used. Okay, like commercial use, I just right now we discussed, like they are used in the bakery industry, they are used in making the dairy industry, like making curd. They are also used in the alcohol industry for making wine, alcohols, and also they are used for making the acetic acid, that is vinegar, we use in our daily day-to-day life in the kitchen. Okay, so there are also some medicinal use of microorganisms. Okay, medicinal use means they are used for making medicines. Like whenever we are suffering from some of the disease, okay, we are having fever and we are going to the doctor. What do doctors do? Doctors provide diagnose the disease. Okay, that doctor diagnose the disease. They see the symptoms of the disease and they do some diagnosis, and on the basis of that diagnosis they provide us some medicines which can be antibiotics. Okay, antibiotics are some of the medicines that doctor give us when we fall sick, to just hinder the growth of these disease causing organisms or kill those disease causing organisms, like penicillin. Okay, penicillin is obtained from penicillium. Penicillin is obtained from penicillium, and this is helpful in killing the microorganisms that causes disease. Okay, so We will see now the use of antibiotics, how antibiotics are used, how they cure the disease. Antibiotics are like, they are the group of drugs. They are group of drugs. Those are used to cure a variety of disease. They are used to stop or kill the growth of the disease causing organisms. Some common antibiotics can be named as streptomycin, erythromycin, tetracycline, or penicillin. They are obtained from bacteria and fungus. Okay, so these are the few examples of the antibiotics. Okay. So we can just eat those medicines and we can get cured, but how do we treat the animals or our poultry birds? We mix those medicines into their feeds. Okay, the food that they eat, we can mix those medicines in that, in the prescribed limit. Okay, and we can feed them to the livestock, the poultry birds or the animals. Okay, and that can help in the controlling several diseases. Okay, and the spray of these antibiotics are also helpful in controlling several plant disease also. Okay, later in the chapter we'll be discussing some of the diseases that are caused by the microorganisms in human, and some of the diseases that those are caused in the animals, and few those are caused in the plants. Okay, so what is the care that we need to take while taking the antibodies, and why? Okay, why should we take the antibiotics in the prescribed amount, only prescribed by the doctors? Okay, so like as I told that the antibiotics should only be taken with a prescription of a doctor. Okay, like when a qualified doctor prescribes you for taking the antibiotics, then only you should take it. Okay, otherwise that could be harmful. Okay, and one more thing, that the complete course of that antibiotics should be taken. Like you took one medicine, okay, one pill of that, and your disease was like suppressed. Okay, but you should not stop the taking the medicine prescribed by the doctor. You should take the full medicine that has been prescribed by doctor to completely cure that medicine, because after the use of antibiotics there can be a condition that the microorganism growth has been suppressed but few are also alive. If you stop that course, they will again start increasing their number and you can again fall sick. Okay, so you need to complete the total course of that. Okay, and antibiotics should not be taken without the prescription of the doctor, because the wrong dose or the heavy dose or the wrong way of taking medicine can make your body not effective to those medicines in the future. Okay, like they will become non-effective, your body will stop responding to that antibiotic and your disease will not cure if you are taking in large amount those antibiotics in large amount and without the prescription of doctor in a wrong way. Okay, here one more thing, that the viral diseases, like you have seen the corona or other diseases, they cannot be cured by antibiotics, because the antibiotics cannot cure diseases caused by viruses. They can only kill the living organisms like bacteria, fungus, etc. Okay, so what is vaccine? Okay, like this is another use of microorganisms, helpful use of microorganisms. Okay, here we are also making medicines. Okay, like before proceeding in the chapter, we must learn few of the definitions. We must understand few of the definitions, like what a pathogen is. Okay, so we are discussing here right now diseases. So the causing agent for that disease is called pathogen. So microbes that cause diseases are called pathogens. So after pathogen, there is a concept of antibodies. What do you call an antibody? Antibody is a chemical that is produced by our body. Antibodies are the chemicals, those are produced by our bodies, which helps in killing those pathogens. Okay, they kill those pathogens. Those chemicals which are produced inside our body and they kill the pathogens are called antibodies. Okay, now what is a vaccine? Vaccine are the weakened or the dead disease causing microbes. The microbes which are causing disease, they are introduced in our body in a very weakened stage, or they are even dead. Okay, so that they only trigger the antibody antigen mechanism in our body. Okay, and there is a photocopy of that antigen, like there is a photocopy of that pathogen which is captured in the body, and that is kept for a very long interval of time. And second time when that pathogen enters our body, that like antibody is triggered, okay, and kills that pathogen in the coming future. Okay, so what is vaccination? The process of introducing that vaccine, that pathogen, okay, into the body is called vaccination. So right now you can see that there are few marks that are present on your body, which are the evidences of vaccination. Like on your left hand, if you see on the upper side of your arm, you will see one spot. Okay, that is a vaccination. Okay, and some of the diseases that can be prevented by vaccination are cholera, hepatitis B, smallpox, tuberculosis, diphtheria, pertussis, then like you have uh, some other diseases also that can be cured by vaccination. Okay, now how do the microorganisms clean our environment? This cleaning is for the organic waste. Okay, organic waste in the form of kitchen waste, farm waste, or the dead bodies of the plants or the animals. They degenerate those materials into very small, simpler organic materials, and they release those materials into the environment again, and this process is called biodegradation. Okay, so with the use of the microbes, our environment is getting cleaned, and it is also helping us from the harmful and the decaying substances, and they clean our environment. Okay, so now we have discussed the usefulness of our organisms, the microorganisms. Now here are some of the harmful organisms which are also present nearby us, and they causes some diseases. Okay, like there are some diseases which are communicable means they like they are spreaded from one infected person to the healthy person. Okay, with the means of air, water, food, fomite, or physical contact. Okay, like cholera, chickenpox, common cold, tuberculosis, and corona. Okay, these are few of the examples of the diseases that are caused by the microorganisms, and these are communicable. Okay, and in this definition I will like to introduce fomites. What do you mean by fomites? Fomites is something that is like a medium of communication. Like a person is infected with common cough and cold, he sneezes and he use his hand for covering his mouth and nose, and after sneezing what he do, he goes out from the room and he touches the handle of the door. Okay, and opens the door and gets out. Okay, so the microbes get transferred from his hand to the handle. Okay, handle of the door, and next time when some healthy person will touch that handle, the microbes will be transferred from the handle to his hand, and from hands there is a possibility that those microbes can get inside the body of that healthy person, and that can make him sick. Okay, so here the door handle is a formite. Okay, the towel that you use is a formite, the comb, okay, the clothes. Okay, here I think now you understand the meaning of the formite. Okay, now carriers and vector. What do we call carriers, or what do we call vectors? Okay, these are the insects or the animals that carries those pathogens. Like you know that the malaria is caused by female anopheles mosquito. Okay, so this female mosquito is a carrier or vector. Okay, there are many other examples like house flies. The house flies, those are available in our houses. How do they transfer the disease? Okay, like house flies sit on the dead and decaying materials, like they sit on the those places which are full of microbes, and again they sit on our food materials and we eat them. Like here you can see there is some rotten potato type thing, and the housefly is sitting on that. So you must understand that here the microbe presence will be sticking on the body and and the legs of this housefly, and after that when this housefly sits on your food, okay, it will transfer that microbe to the food, and after that when we eat this food, we will be very likely to get contaminated with the disease. Okay, so after the houseflies, we can discuss about the mosquitoes, the female Anopheles mosquito, which carries the parasites for malaria. Malaria parasite that we had discussed, the Plasmodium vivax. Okay, that is the malarial parasite. Female Aedes mosquito that carries the parasite for the dengue. Okay, that is a virus. Again, the Culex mosquito parasites for the elephantiasis. Okay, that is also called filariasis. Like you have seen the elephant foot disease that is caused by the Culex mosquito. Culex mosquitoes are the common mosquitoes which are found uh, in our houses on the daily basis. Okay, so what are the preventions that we can do for the mosquitoes not to breed and not to increase their number? Okay, like all the mosquitoes breed in water. Okay, like they breed in water, so we should avoid the collection of stagnant water. The freely flowing water is not a problem, but the stagnant water which has stopped and that is stagnant and collected at some place, okay, they act as a breeding grounds for these mosquitoes, like coolers, tires, flower pots, etc. Okay, so we should avoid the collection of water in those places. We can also prevent mosquitoes from breeding by keeping the surrounding clean and dry. Okay, if we keep the environment clean and dry, the mosquitoes will not be able to breed. Okay, here are some of the diseases which are caused in the human beings. Like you can see tuberculosis, measles, chickenpox, polio, cholera, typhoid, hepatitis B, and malaria. Okay, and here you can see the causative microbes. They are bacteria, virus, bacteria, protozoa, etc. And there are certain mode of transmission, like these are all communicable diseases which can spread from one organism to another. Okay, like few can spread by water, few can spread by contact, by some air, then food and mosquitoes, etc. And how can we prevent? We can keep a total hygiene. We can keep the patient in the complete isolation, in the hygienic condition. Okay, we can provide vaccinations and some medicines which are useful in that disease. Okay, we can provide that medicine to that infected person, and we can help the patient in recovering. Okay, so maintaining hygiene, keeping our environment clean, and taking prescribed medicines. Okay, these can be a few preventive measures that we can take in general to get cured from these kind of diseases. And definitely the consultation of doctor is the best part and the most important part that you should do when you come in contact with these kind of diseases. When you get contaminated from these kind of diseases, you must see a doctor. Okay, so here there is one also like example of few diseases that are common in animals as well as in human beings. Okay, like anthrax. Anthrax is a dangerous disease. Okay, that was a time when the anthrax was used as a weapon for killing different kinds of effective persons. Okay, some letters were sent that were having the anthrax virus as in the powdered form, and when that person opened that envelope, that anthrax virus could get inside the that person and he could be killed by that. Okay, so anthrax is an example of a dangerous human disease which is also common in cattle. Okay, foot and mouth disease is caused by a virus in the cattle. There are few of the diseases that is also common in swine flu, bird flu, which can also be communicated from animals to the human beings. Okay, some diseases that are caused by microbes in plants are citrus canker, rust of wheat, red rot of sugarcane, yellow vein of mosaic of windy, Bhindi is okra. Okay, you must have seen bhindi in your home. Okay, so this citrus canker is caused by the bacteria. Okay, and the mode of transmission is air. Okay, and the rust of wheat is caused by fungi. Okay, which is also spreaded by the air, or that gets into the seed, and the next generation is also contaminated by that fungus. Okay, and the yellow vein of mosaic bhindi is caused by virus, and this is transmitted by insects. Okay, here comes one of the most important topic of this chapter, important from the basis of examination also. Okay, the examination perspective also you can learn this topic, like food preservation. Okay, what do we mean by food preservation? Preservation of food from getting spoiled, from getting contaminated. This is called food preservation, and how we do it, we will be discussing it right here. Okay, before proceeding ahead, there is one topic that is called food poisoning. Like when we eat contaminated food, when we eat rotten food, spoiled food, okay, that creates problem in our stomach, and we are suffering from food poisoning. Even the death can be caused by food poisoning when we eat these kind of spoiled food. Okay, because when the food is spoiled, there is a growth of microorganisms, and they produce toxic substances, okay, which on consumption can cause serious diseases. So it is very important to preserve food. That is why we are reading this section in this chapter. Okay, so we came to know that the few microorganisms which are harmful to us, they spoil our food, which becomes bad in taste and emits foul smell, and also has some changed color. Okay, so what are the common methods that can be used to prevent the food from getting spoiled? Okay, first one is the chemical method. Okay, like we use some kind of chemicals which are called preservatives. Okay, preservatives are the common chemicals which are generally used to prevent the growth of microorganisms on the food, that is called preservatives. Okay, like salts, edible oils, you must have seen pickles. Our mother makes pickles in our home, and she put oil and salt for its preservation, and it can be kept for a very long duration of time. So salt or acids preservatives are used to pickle. Acid means citric acid, or the ascorbic acid. Okay, like vinegar or the lemon juices, they are used as the preservatives to keep the pickles from free from the attack of the microbes. Okay, some other chemical which are used for the preservatives are sodium benzoate and the sodium metabisulfate are the common preservatives that can be used in the jams or squashes to prevent them from the spoilage. Okay, now as we discussed that the common salts can be used as a preservative, that can be used to preserve meat or the fish forages, like that can be used to keep the meat and the fish fresh for much longer time. Okay, so when the salt is used, the fish or the meat that is available, that can be preserved for a longer duration of time. Okay, here meat and fish are covered with dry salt, and this checks the growth of the bacteria. And we can also preserve amla, raw mangoes, turments, etc. by the use of salts. You can see here how we can use it. Here is a fish, okay, that is covered with the dry salt, and that can be preserved for a longer duration of time. And you can see some fruits are here that is covered with salt, and it can be preserved for a longer duration of time. Okay, now preservation by sugar. You must have seen how our mother or grandmothers make jams, jellies, or squashes at our home, or we buy it from the market. They are preserved using sugar. Okay, it is very sweet, and the uh, this sugar reduces the moisture content that inhibits the growth of bacteria, which spoils the food. You can see here that is an image of a jam which is preserved by sugar. Now, as we discussed that some of the pickles and the vinegars are preserved by the oil and the vinegar. Okay, like oil and vinegar is used to keep it safe from the bacteria and other fungal growths. Okay, like vegetables, fruits, fishes, meats are often preserved by this method also. Okay, you must have seen some canned foods, like they are kept in cans, bottles. Okay, so in that cans and bottles there are some vinegar solution and there is some oil concentration which help in the preservation of that food. You can see this is a diagram. This is a picture of pickles, different kinds of pickle which are preserved by oils and vinegar. Okay, so now comes the heat and cold treatment. Daily in your home, you must be seeing the heat and the cold treatment. Today's in today's world, there is no house, no such house where I consider that this treatment does not take place. Like every day in our home, the milk that comes from outside is boiled and then kept as preserved, okay, which is free from the growth of bacteria and other microorganisms which can spoil that milk. Okay, and also when you bring vegetables or your cooked food, they are preserved in the refrigerator for a longer duration of time. Okay, and you can see in this diagram. See, this is a process of pasteurization where we are boiling the milk for 15 to 30 seconds, okay, and then it is chilled and stored, okay. Then we can chill it and store. In this way, the microorganisms cannot grow in this milk and it will be preserved for a longer duration of time, okay. So now we can see that in the refrigerators we keep our food materials, and in the frozen condition, in the cold condition, they are kept preserved for a longer duration of time, and the growth of bacteria and the fungus are prevented in this cold condition. Okay, now the storage and packing, like some dry fruits, and even today's in big malls when you go to buy vegetables, you can find that those vegetables are covered in plastic wrappers, okay, and there is no air inside that. Okay, they are air sealed, like the vacuum has been created. Okay, all the air has been taken out with the use of some machine. Okay, and that sealed airtight packets are kept for sale in those supermarkets, and that can last for a very long time, and they can be free from the attack of the microbes. You can see here. Okay, these are some examples of sealing the food materials with the help of plastic air shield tight plastics. Okay, now comes a topic that we had discussed earlier in the chapter, nitrogen fixation. Okay, nitrogen fixation is something where the nitrogen which is available in the atmosphere is fixed with the help of lightning and some other microbes in the soil, and that is converted into some special formats, some special compounds which are usable by the green plants, and those usable materials are then converted into proteins and other compounds and then utilized by the plants, and some animals or the other animals who eat those plants, they get those proteins and the nitrogenous materials, okay, nitrogenous compounds. Okay, so we will take the step by step explanation of the nitrogen cycle here, and we will see how nitrogen is fixed. Like I told you, the first step is the nitrogen fixation, which is which is happening by the lightning and some bacteria like rhizobium, azotobacter, and some of the algae like blue green algae which is present in the soil. Okay, and these are converting this free nitrogen into some useful compounds like nitrates and ammonium. Okay, these are the compounds which are usable by the plants. The other form of nitrogen cannot be absorbed by the plants. Okay, so now again here comes the another step that is called nitrification, where the ammonia is converted into nitrites. Okay, the ammonia is converted into nitrites by some nitrosomonas. Okay, and this is the bacteria nitrosomonas, and further the conversion of nitrites is done by the nitrobacter into the nitrates, and this nitrate is the usable form. Okay, plants can take up the nitrogen in the form of ammonia and nitrates only. Okay, now assimilation. Assimilation means, you must have studied the digestion part, where assimilation is also one of the important topic, where the absorbed materials is assimilated in the whole body. Here also, when the roots of the plants absorb this nitrogenous compound from the soil, they synthesize protein and other useful compounds with the help of that absorbed nitrogen. Okay, and that is distributed in all the parts of the plants. Now, denitrification. Like nitrification was the fixing of the nitrogen in the soil, so it will be the opposite of nitrification. This is denitrification, where there are some bacteria which convert the nitrogen gas and like which convert the nitrates into the nitrogen gas back, and that is released in the environment, and with this process the level of the atmospheric nitrogen is also maintained. Okay, like some of the name of the bacteria are pseudomonas or thiobacillus. They are the bacteria which are denitrifying in nature, and they break down the nitrates into the nitrogenous gas, okay, into the nitrogen gas, and it releases back into the atmosphere. Now I will show you some step by step nitrogen cycle. Like you can have a small notes on this. Okay, this is the same notes that we have discussed right now earlier. Okay, and here is the diagram of the nitrogen cycle, okay, which you can make in your copy, and it can be helpful for the diagrammatic representation of the nitrogen cycle. As we discussed that there is lightning, and the atmospheric nitrogen is converted into the ammonia by some nitrogen fixing prokaryotes of the bacteria. Okay, they convert into, this is nitrogen, that nitrogen that we obtained from the atmosphere, into ammonia, NH3, and again that is obtained by the green plants, and also some nitrification prokaryotes convert NH3, that is ammonia, into nitrites, NO2 minus. Okay, and these nitrites are again converted into nitrates, NO3 minus. Okay, and this NO3 minus nitrates is again used by denitrifying bacteria, and that is converted into atmospheric nitrogen and released back into the atmosphere. So you can see that this is a complete cycle where the atmospheric nitrogen undergoes few changes, and again it comes back into the atmosphere in the form of N2. Okay, so here comes an end of this chapter. Okay, and I thank you for watching this complete video, and I request you to subscribe to appreciate my efforts, and yes, please press the bell icon for the next updated video that will be coming to you. Okay, so you are easily updated. घंटी बजा के जाना. Thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you.